It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. I'm glad y'all here. This is my second take. I did a live on Facebook and it went way long, so I figured I'd do a shortened version so at least somebody might watch this thing. Had a great week. Was with some of the city's best educational leaders, teaching them my culturally responsive coaching technique, and I am thrilled because I believe I was with some folk who ultimately gonna actually use it and really improve the lives of educators and the children they support. But anyway, great week. You would think my filter wouldn't have a big old hole in it, and it doesn't. But while I was doing that, I got a text from someone who knows me well enough to have my personal cell phone number, and they highlight that John McWhorter had gotten on NPR and done an interview, and he disagreed, had some good points that are in disagreement with Robin DiAngelo. Now, let me just say, look, I don't make a point of walking around capping for white women. I wasn't even going to read this book. She was very clear. She did not write this book for me. She wrote this book for white people. And so I can follow the simple instructions. I ain't white. You ain't write it for me? Great. Talk to your white friends about why it's so hard for white people to talk about white racism. That ain't that hard for me. But a few of my friends had gotten together and arranged a book club discussion with their coworkers, and 100 people were going to show up. Now, y'all, we talking like 2 years ago, okay? And one of them had gotten nervous and said, can you join us? So I called my friend Jake Garr and said, hey, can you get me in? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. Please be my guest. Now, I'm not so arrogant that I'm going to show up for a book club discussion for a book for which I have not read. But here's what I've come to see. That is not beyond people. Because when I did read it, and I read it, baby, I love this book. When I did read it, and I went to go put my rating in to Goodreads and what kind of rating I thought, like excellent research, clear language. She referenced many of the people I reference when I'm talking with people about race and equity. I saw that she had a lot of 1-star, 2-star ratings, and I started reading those people's comments. And what was very clear to me very quickly was that the people who were giving her 1 and 2 stars were the ones who had not even read the book, because even if they had read the first chapter, they wouldn't have said the things that they were saying. And so the book that I read was Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Dr. Joy McGrew. And look at that cute little face. See, Dr. Joy shares America's legacy of enduring injury and healing and its impacts on us. And the person who had written the foreword was Randall Robinson, and he was one of the first people's books that I had read. Defending the Spirit. Randall Robinson was kind of teaching us, like, look, you got to protect your spirit and soul, baby, if you're going to be here in America. And so I was very intrigued. And, it's another one that I done really read because I just love her book. But there's one thing that she points out in here that sticks in my mind as a scientist. She differentiates opinions and beliefs from facts and truth, from science and theories. And she uses an example about how the best liars use facts to perpetuate their deceptions. A parent asks her son, "Did you sleep with her?" The son replies, "No, I did not sleep with her." The fact is, they did not sleep together. The truth is, they did have sex, and you have to know the difference. The truth is often only revealed when you have all the facts. So what's that have to do with us this week in McWhorter? When you are having a conversation about race, if you want to look at the individual, you'll miss the whole picture. And that's hard for U.S. Americans because we are individualists. We're individualist. We like to think about what I did, what I accomplished, what I. We don't like to look at the collective. And the people in this nation who do look at the collective tend to be underrepresented minorities because we recognize the power in group. That's why social organizing is so important. What does that have to do with Guess Who I Saw Today? And what does that have to do with that text message? Well, I wake up this morning, remember my sleep didn't go so well. And I see, first thing, Stephen Colbert talking about our lovely president, highest position of the land, talking about people, woman, man, camera, TV. That's who I saw today. So in the highest job in the land, we got this dummy. That's my opinion. My opinion is based on my experiences listening to him on television. That was on Fox television when I went to see the interview. That's my opinion. Now, we can't see them school records, so we don't know or how to get closer to the facts. But let me tell you what also is my opinion. My opinion is, don't send me a text message asking me what I think about what somebody thinks about facts. You see, opinions can be agreed with and disagreed with. Facts can only be proven or disproven. And this Dr. Robin DiAngelo done broke down every aspect of race for white people in the most basic way possible in this singular resource. And I got asked by a black woman, well, why can't McWhorter critique her? Because it's not critique. It's not critique. It is not academic critique. And what you should know is John McWhorter is one of the best linguistic experts in the world. I'm not one of those people to say shut up and dribble. But I am one of those people to say, if you're going to talk about something outside your expertise, do a little research. Every single statement he made was his opinion, his lived experience, zero fact. And he has been on NPR, he's been on MSNBC, he's been on Fox News, and he has also written a story in Atlantic based on his opinions. And that's where we got to start talking about gender. That's where we got to start talking about gender. Because in his interview, he also goes, this little white woman, blah, 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 blah. Now, why we got to do the little devaluation, McWhorter? Why we got to do that? And let me tell you why he has to do that. He has to do that because men get away with that. And I saw Jane Elliott on television last night, and Jane was asked a question about the women's experience in gender. And Jane said, look, don't ask me about that. Because the black woman's experience is different from the white woman's experience. And I ain't the one to talk about the black woman's experience. And I'm like, but Jane gets so much pushback from people on race. And her blue-eyed, brown-eyed experiment was fabulous. Fabulous research that she's done. But you know why she gets pushback? Because she says we're one race, the human race. There's no separation between us. But Jane right, y'all. You see, in the short term, it's irresponsible to think about it in that way because we have to dismantle the racism that is built around the fallacy of race. Every single institution in this nation has disproportionality based on this fake thing called race. Now, what's interesting is Dr. Robin DiAngelo talks about it. Dr. Joy McGrew talks about it. Dr. Joy DeGruy talks about it. And then this sister who's so smart that even when I'm watching videos of her, I got to pause every 30 seconds to make sure I understand what she's saying. Dr. Dorothy Roberts, listen, she talks about how science, politics, big business, and honestly, medicine have recreated race in the 21st century. This is a hard read. It's a good read, but it's a hard read. It's even hard to listen to her in an hour-long interview because she's so smart. But ultimately, the goal is not for us not to be treated differently based on race. The long-term strategy is to stop saying we're different based on race because we're not. You see, men and women are different. We are different. You might not think we are, but we are. There's all kinds of scientific evidence that says we are. Now, are there a lot of ways in which we're not different? Yeah. You know, having a vagina doesn't keep me from leading. You and I have talked about that and how I feel about it in the pulpit, how I feel about it in politics, how I feel about it in business and industry. However, the diversity of thought that comes based on how women show up in the world and the fact that women tend to be the female sex who biologically have children, there is something that's different about us. But humans are 99.9% the same. And it was a political construct, not a social construct, that separated us. Rich people said, we got to separate these folks because it's the reason right now poor white people want to separate themselves from us, and they still vote Republican when all of the social safety net services that would benefit the black community also benefit poor whites. It was been true after Reconstruction. Anyway, look up the data. Facts. Not Nicole's opinion. So when I get this text message that says, what do you think about McWhorter's point of view? Here are a couple things that are obvious to me. Here we go. We have found the one black person who can agree with us. And I can give you the list. Candace Owens, Jason Whitlock, Officer Tatum, Clarence Thomas, today Ben Carson, and now John McWhorter. And people want to hold up these 5 folks and say, hey, they said. So 20 years worth of research out the window. Don't matter. That's because we do this false equivalent of people's opinions versus facts, and they're not the same. And that's how deceptive lies get perpetuated. McWhorter wasn't doing anything but throwing out his opinions. But then I say, guess who I saw today? Guess who I saw today? President Donald John Trump. What examples has he given us about the devaluation of women? So many that we have congressmen calling folks effing bitches. And then got the audacity to stand on the congressional floor and issue a pseudo apology that sounds something like, I didn't sleep with her. I didn't say those words to the congresswoman, but you spewed them out into the air in her presence after screaming at her. Why? 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 There's this pesky little thing about women who happen to be intellectuals. People don't like it. They don't like it. But let me ask you, what are you speaking on that you know nothing about? In those spaces, you are no different than Mr. People, Woman, Man, Camera, TV. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. We got work to do.